The AMT 67 Impala Street Machine build is moving forward. We're going to be working on the chassis and the interior this week on Angelo's Workbench. So the first thing that I want to do this week is get this dashboard squared away. The masking needs to be done, so I want to do these. Obviously, the section where the gauges are is going to be black. This section where the radio and the climate controls is going to be black, but I want to leave the rest pink, including that very little teeny tiny narrow strip in between those two sections. And what that is going to require is a very small piece of tape. So I'm going to cut a very small strip. With my metal X-Acto ruler. And I would say that I got that just about right. So now I'm going to put that right there. All right. There we go. Give it a little burnish with the Q-tip. There we go. And so that is applied. And now I'll start with the top edge. I think I can just use the rest of this piece of tape. I'm just basically running it along here like that. There we go. And now I need a little tiny one for the side. Nope. Takes a couple of tries sometimes to get it just right. And this tape is somewhat flexible, which is good. There we go. I need another little one on the other side. I got that one on the first try. There we go. Now I need to cover the bottom part, but there's a section around the steering wheel. Let me see if I can guesstimate about where that is. There, I think I got it. What I've done is carved a little notch out of the tape so that I can go along the bottom edge like that, and then like that. And there's that. So that's masked and ready. Let's go to the booth and give it a spray, and I'll be right back. Okay, just back from the booth, and all I did was just give it a little shot of some black. Now we'll remove the masking, and we'll see how we did. I'd say that looks very good. Very good, very good. exactly what I was looking for, and I wanted to keep this trim here in the front pink. We'll detail some dials and some gauges after that cures. And the dashboard will be ready for installation. This video series is proudly sponsored by Angelo's Motorcycle, my other YouTube channel. Anything and everything to do with the world of motorcycling is there. It's a fun place. We have a good time. Come on over and check it out if you're into motorcycles. I have a small little commercial that I've prepared that we can see right now, and then we'll get back to work. Time for the chassis now. I've got the pieces here, and I've just realized that the suspension shocks are different sizes, front and rear. There is a rather large one, and then there is a very small one. And I don't recall which one is front and which one is rear. So at this point, you'd be like, well, what are you going to do? Well, one of the things that I sometimes do is I will look back and I will see what part number this is. This is part number 75 for the back. So then I will go find the sprue for part number 75, and 75 went right here and right here. So if the shock fits, then that's the rear one. And this one is too big. So obviously now I have determined, and that one fits perfectly. So now I have determined that the small ones are, in fact, the ones that go in the back. There you go. And that's one of the many reasons why I save the sprue while I'm building the kit. If I need any spare plastic, I've got it. If I need to stretch any sprue or make any parts or do anything, I can do it with the original styrene from the kit. And there you have it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to begin this instruction right here. I have all of the parts here. And now we have determined that the small ones are in fact the ones for the rear. We can start gluing those in. The other thing that I still would like to do, and I will do it after I glue them in, is I would like to apply a little wash, a little Panaline accent color, to take in those grooves and kind of make the spring pop, make it look a little better. And we are going to do that momentarily after I fix my glue. My metal tube is stuck in. Oh, there it comes. There we go. All fixed. All kinds of strange things happen with model glue. There we go. And I'm not worried about these parts coming apart. This glue holds pretty well. So I'm not going to scrape any of the paint at this point in time. There isn't a tremendous amount of paint on the ends, and the glue is taking some of it off anyway. So now that that is in there, I'm going to give this a little bit of a shake. And I'm just going to go right up. Look at how nice that makes that shock look. Yep, that looks good. This Panaline accent color is great. I mean, before we had Tamiya Panaline accent color, you know, we had to mix our own wash, 10 parts paint, 10 parts thinner to 1 part paint was the recipe. At least that was the recipe that I used. And there, that looks very good. So now we can begin adding these two little pieces. And I believe one piece goes here. definitely does not like there it goes. So we have a small hole here, and then obviously the top of the shock. And this is what holds the rear axle to the car. So a very important part indeed. I really like the way this undercarriage is coming out with the pink and the some parts silver, some parts black. There's some contrast, you know, going on here. And I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. So that is set. And then eventually it looks like in the next step, this rear end comes in and goes and drops in like that and glues to that. So, but we're going to let this set up fully first. Before we do anything with that, we'll let this cure. So let's finish the front end. The front end, we have this part here. And then I'm going to flip this over so that I have them orientated the same way as the instructions. That helps me keep things straight. And then we have the suspension shock. And we have our steering. This one appears to go on this side. This one appears to go on that side. Then we have this guy who goes like that. And then we have this guy who goes pretty much like that. And then these two, which appear to, this one goes on this side and that one goes on that side. There's a small flat recessed part that doesn't have that detail, and I believe that goes on that side. So we shall see, we shall see. And this glues right onto here, just like that, which is relatively straightforward. So let's go ahead, put a little glue on there. And there we go. And then while we get the glue out, put a little glue on there. And we will put this one in there like that. Boy, that looks really good. I'm a big fan of that. And so I do not want this steering to be posable. So I am okay with gluing this in place. But I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. This particular moment, I'm just going to worry about getting them sandwiched in there properly. And then where does that go? That goes right there. Just kind of doing a little bit of a test fit here. I don't have the spring in yet, but I wanted to see how this was going to work and make sure that I've got them all in the right place and that looks good. And that definitely looks good. So we have our parts in the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a little test fit. That's shock, and it fits nicely. All the parts in this kit fit pretty nicely, I have to admit. I am rather impressed for the vintage of this AMT kit. How nicely this is all going together. And I still have to do my little wash, which I will do momentarily. And I'll put a little drop of glue there. And quite conveniently, that is holding this. There we go. And that front end looks the part. That looks very nice. Now I'll get my wash going here on that shock. Now that I don't have to touch it because it's glued in, we can go ahead and put some wash on it. The little brush from the Tamiya Panaline accent color fits right in there very nicely. That looks pretty good. Now let's do the same thing on the opposite side. We'll just go ahead and put our glue in our glue points. I have to say, I know I've said it already, but I'm going to say it again. I really like this this front suspension. The way it looks as a finished unit on the car. I am a fan. And that went together extremely easily. Now let's get our wash in there on that shock. And we got to do this side. There we go. Put the cap on the wash. So that went together fairly easily. Now we can put in this, which, let me orient this correctly, goes like that. Whoops. As I drop it all over the place, goes like that. Okay. And that, I believe, is how it goes. There we go. And then there is one single solitary piece left. And that is this support arm here, which goes like this. Goes through. And then this end has to go through. It's got to go through underneath this pink part. So I got to kind of manipulate it a little bit. First, let me put that tie rod back in there. Go back in there. There we go. So now, need to just kind of bend this a little bit. There we go. Just about got it. Almost. There we go. Now we'll just kind of push that in there. I need a little toothpick. Push that in there just like so. Push that in there. Go on, you want to get in there, you know it. Aha! There we go. So now we'll push that down, and we have a front end that is installed and glued and looks really good, if I do say so myself. I would attribute it more to the kit than me, but hey, that looks pretty good. And I do see a couple of spots where the shock pokes through the end of the shock. You can see this white or silver piece in the center of what should be black. And I'll go in with a little bit of black after and just touch that after the glue cures. That looks awesome. Eh? I'm a fan. So I'm going to let that cure. And then we will come back in for step 2 of the chassis, where we attach the rear end and the rear shock. And whatever those 2 little silver things are, those go on there too at that point in time. And this rear support rod, which I also have right here ready to go. So we shall return. Well, this is set up pretty good. So we're going to move along here, and I'm going to glue the rear end together. I would normally have done this when this was in bare plastic, and for some reason I did not. I don't know why. I usually try to glue all the parts that I can when they're in bare plastic because it's easier. But now this I view as a high stress joint, and I'm not really in love with how this goes on here. So I have scraped the paint, excuse me, from the plastic. And this is, once I get this attached and firmly planted where it goes, I'm going to hit it with the Tamiya Extra Thin. And it will bond almost instantly. And then I won't have to worry about it. But here we go. I couldn't find the Tamiya Extra Thin for a second there. This is good stuff. You just dab it on the joint. The capillary action goes to work. Sucks it in. And then the only other thing that has to happen, just a little bit of pressure helps. There we go. And so that looks good. So now we can go back to the other glue, and we can begin gluing in the rear shocks, which appear, they're a little vague, but I'm willing to bet they go right here. Just a little vague on the shock placement. And then I need my tweezers. There they are. I spend half my time looking for tools. I don't know how much time you guys spend looking for tools, but half my time at the bench is spent looking for that tool I just had my hand on a second ago. And that looks great. And I obviously chose yellow for the shock color. I remember these shocks used to come in yellow and blue, and you know, if you had the aftermarket good ones, which this car, of course, is going to have the aftermarket good ones. There we go. And there will definitely need to be a little touch-up done on this rear axle. I've got a little paint off there, but that will be very easy to do after the fact. So now there are also these little silver guys here. And these guys appear to go between here and the frame. So they appear to rest in these grooves in the frame and rest in these notches on the rear end. So I am just going to kind of experiment with fitting here. Oh, and that's pretty much it right there. And then based on the diagram, this part with the lines faces the outside. So that looks pretty good to me. I'm comfortable with that fit. So I think that I can go ahead and put a little glue in here. And here. And here. And now I can go ahead and install these pieces. There we go. Not really cooperating with us here. This piece isn't. There we go. And there we go. Just took a little bit of finagling. Ta-da. Okay. So now that's in. So then the only piece that's left is this little guy right here, which apparently, I got a little bit of wash on the frame. That'll come off after. So apparently this goes, oh, this goes right here. And then right there. Well, that's very easy. And fits exactly as it does, as it's supposed to. So I'll just put a little glue there, and I'll put a little glue there. And that is just like an anti-sway bar, anti-roll bar, I would assume. Something along those lines. The instructions don't have the names for the parts. But a sway bar sounds good to me. Or an anti-roll bar. It goes right in there very easily. And is apparently just a fraction of a centimeter too long. But I think that we can work with that. There. Marvelous. So now that rear end is built. And we can proceed on. The next piece that is going to be installed, you know, is the motor in the frame, which is rather exciting. This is a historical moment for this car. You know, its heart gets transplanted in along with the drive shaft. And I was looking earlier at how this engine mounts to the frame, and there is very positive mounting points. There is a little a little dot right there and a little dot right there. Basically a little button that it just kind of rests on, a little tab. And I already test fitted it, so I'm going to put the glue on and go for the gusto. And then there is a hole in the oil pan right there, and a hole in the transmission right there. And you just basically line those up. And before I do that, I'm going to just line up this rear end so that all can be done together at once. Go on. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. The engine cooperated, the drive shaft did not. But I will get it. There we go. Perfecto. So now the engine and the drive shaft are mounted. And I'm just going to put a little dab of, I don't like how this drive shaft is. It's just a little too long, a little too loose. So I'm just going to put a little dab of glue there just to hold it in place. And that looks fantastic. I'm very happy about that. And then it appears that next is this, which mounts. There are little tiny tabs, boom, 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 that go into the frame. And this has also already been test fitted. So this should mount very easily. And will give us such a realistic look. Like it would have actually been, you know, had this had a frame that was custom painted, you know, it would look just like this. Because it's a separate plastic piece, it's easy. You don't have to do the masking and the spraying of the frame. And wow, look at that. How great is that? So there is the chassis in the books. Let's see what's next. That's going to wrap up this week's video number 6 in the AMT 1967 Impala Street Machine video series. Go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. All of those things help me out, please and thank you. Also, don't forget to check me out on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, all under Angelo's Workbench for additional content. Thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you all next week.